Hi, people from all over the world, and welcome back to a new episode of Alma Latina Journey Within. Hey, how are you guys? I hope everything is fine with you, and I hope things are not overwhelming. And I do hope that you are passing through changes. Yes, this is the theme that I want to talk to you about today about changes that are overwhelming. I was talking one day to a friend that is trying to change her life, to do things that are different in her life, and to be better, right? To have a better job or to have a second job. And she started doing this, but it's overwhelming. And yes, it is. And changes in general can be overwhelming. But why? And this is what I'm about to talk to you right now because I've been through a lot of changes in my life, both professional and personal, so many times. And yes, change is overwhelming, but we stop if it's overwhelming, we stop from changing, or we try to understand what change means and then to find the right path to accomplish this changes. So today I want you to bear with me and to talk about this topic. What do you think? First, I want to say that in general, uh, the definition, let's say, about feeling overwhelmed about change, it's because we are not used to the unknown. The brain, it's used to the routine, to do certain things in a certain way because this is how he was taught to from the birth. So whenever we do changes, and if the changes are huge and very sudden, the brain just doesn't know what to do. So it blocks or it starts fighting uh, this change. This is the very natural reaction of our body, of our brain, and we feel sometimes lost. We feel a level of anxiety that sometimes we cannot handle, right? But there are also people like my friend that has days when she actually paralyzed from fear, this fear of the unknown. But guess what? We don't know the future. We can go on the same routine every day and things can change without our willing. So change is part of our life. It doesn't mean that uh, if we do the same things, we actually don't change. We do, but we change less or in a lower pace, and it doesn't frighten us so much. So why actually the change overwhelms us? Because, as I told you, the brain prefers the predictability. Everything or anything that is unknown for it, the brain receives it as a threat. So it fights or it blocks of fear. To do some changes or to start changing something, it requires much more both mental and emotional energy because adapting the body, the brain, everything, adapting to new requires and consumes a lot of internal resources. So this is why uh, it feels overwhelming because we actually consume more. more of our energy, more of our emotions. So this is another thing why we feel that it's overwhelming. Uh, it also can be because we are afraid of the failure. But what is failure? What is failure? If not a lesson that we have to learn. But our brain doesn't think like that. Our brain says, what if I'm wrong? What if I cannot handle it? And then it blocks again. So, what do? We just keep telling our brain, you are doing a great job. You are on the right path. Keep on going. And also, it's the loss of the comfort, the familiarity. This, it's a no-go for the brain. But we can separate easily, like step by step, from our old way of doing things. Because if we do it drastically, we might get to nostalgia and then to sadness and sometimes also to depression, and we don't want that. And another thing that I've discovered that uh, makes the change being unbearable sometimes is the pressure to adapt rapidly. Um, but who says that we need to adapt rapidly? Who says that the things that we want to change need to happen fast? No, just take it easy. If something change, we don't need to adapt immediately to that change. So give uh, give us time, give yourself time to adapt, and it's no pressure if you do like that. So I've talked about um, whys, why the change feels unbearable and overwhelming, but how can we handle the change and try to feel less and less overwhelmed? But first, as I already said, well, I'm here. Sorry, I will make a break. I'm here in a beautiful place, and I have no support to hold my phone, so it's uh, it's a different change of perspective. I need to bear with this until I finish this video. But don't worry, I'm here. So, what do we do? How do we handle the change? Not to feel overwhelmed. But first, we have to accept that yes, it's uncomfortable to change. Some people might say, yeah, I'm very comfortable with change. I am comfortable with changes, but from my own experience, I'm telling you that I'm comfortable with changes if and only if and when I already have a plan for the change. So when I do have that, I actually manage the change more easily. So I suggest you accept that the change at the beginning can be very uncomfortable. It doesn't mean that you are wrong. It doesn't mean that you don't have to change. It just means that you have to accept that some changes are difficult. Even the changes for the good. And you know what? Uh, I get back to the fear of the brain of the unknown. Sometimes, even though it feels really bad in a situation or relationship or whatever, the familiarity of that bad, it's better for the brain that to change normally for something better, but it's unknown. So the brain does not do that. But it doesn't mean that you are doing something wrong if you feel this discomfort. Also, if you're not adapting in general, very easy to uh, changes in general, well, don't change drastically. So take the change step by step, concentrate not on the entire process, but only on the next logical step. So um, part it in pieces, because if you take it bit by bit, the brain will get used to it more easily and it will not feel overwhelmed. So instead of thinking about, is my new program of digital marketing the right thing? Am I going to gain money? Am I going to change my life for the better? If not, what I'm gonna do? Stop doing that. Just breathe and just think, okay, my goal is to change my life and I want to do this digital marketing. Perfect. What can I do for this plan today? It may be nothing. No, today I have to rest. It may be um, planning something new, like new in your process. Or what can I do just to adapt better? Maybe I need to talk to a friend. Maybe I need to do mindfulness. Maybe I need to start writing everything in a journal to make it easy. So just think and put this question: what can I do today, only today, a small thing for me to adapt better? Another thing that we can do is, of course, as I said, give yourself time. Give yourself time to adapt because not everybody adapts in the same rhythm. You don't need to have the answers, all the answers in the same time. Just accept that to adapt it's a process. You don't have a deadline. You put yourself a deadline. Yes, for a plan, but that's with pressure. It's okay to have a milestone. It's okay to have on a horizon that you are looking at, but just don't put, I need to do this until tomorrow, or I need to change that thing until next week. Don't do that. Just give yourself time to adapt in your rhythm. And then, what if you're trying to see the change from another perspective? Change the perspective, change the mirror, put it in another way. Rewrite the story in your mind. Just try to look at the change not with fear, but with faith. And try to look it as an opportunity, not as a threat. How can you do that? Put yourself these questions. If this doesn't work, can I learn something about this situation? If so, what? How can I make this change to help me on the long run? Work with this kind of questions and you will change the mirror from being a threat to being a possible opportunity. So try to do that. And of course, not the last and not the least is seek help. Seek not help, support. Sorry, support. It's the better word. And emotional back, having your back, um, somebody to have your back, yeah, an anchor. Find emotional anchor in a therapist, why not? In a friend, in family, or in techniques. You don't need a person to do that. You can easily use emotional auto regulation techniques, like as I said before. Write a journal, do some meditation, mindfulness, sport. Just find something that balances this overwhelming change and gives you a stability. And not not to forget that we need to understand that change is something good actually. Why is it good? Because without change, without pushing ourselves to find different ways to live our lives, we cannot grow. So the change actually help us grow. Without change, we cannot evolve as human beings, as souls, as whatever you want. So this is the good part of the change. Yeah, it's overwhelming sometimes, true. Uh, it might not change for the good for some period of time, or it was just a lesson. Take it as a lesson. It still means evolving. So it's important. And I've been through a lot of these kind of changes, don't you worry. I've never, or I trained myself to look at of the change, or the change also that meant bad, or bad experiences, might say, as, as lessons. So, as I said before, put yourself these questions. What if it doesn't work out? What can I learn from this? And don't you worry, I still have some questions in my mind about this idea of what did I learn about from this experience that gave me a bad change. I'm still having these questions for some experience that I've had. So, but it's part of the process. As I said, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Don't you forget that. And don't forget that every time we change or we go through the process of changing, it gives us opportunity, not threats, opportunity. Opportunity to grow, opportunity to see life different. So sometimes what seems like an end, it's actually the beginning of something better. And who is following my stories for almost a year knows that I've been through a lot of changes. But guess what? The changes actually that I embraced, even though I've hurt a lot, I embraced the changes with faith, and it gave me even more strength, and it got me to the most peaceful, happiest period of my life. So embrace change, but don't overdo it, okay? Don't change for the sake of changing, okay? Just embrace the change when it comes, because it comes when you need it. And if it's something bad as experience, but it's still change, take it as a lesson, never as a failure. Please, never as a failure, because this gives you depression, and we don't want that. Take it as it is, step by step. Breathe. I'm here. We are still a support group. Just write to me anytime you need support, and I promise you I will have your back. Okay? Until next time, embrace the change, love life, and love yourself.